Nuclear waste. It all is a waste. Kind of not. There's research and lots of stuff going on that is interesting and justifiable. But how the nuclear industry is now is broken. It's like the NRA is broken. It's like Republican politics is broken. And they break themselves. They do this on purpose in the media. They speak gibberish, nonsense, and noise within what should be reasonable conversations, and yet that's what happens. So, going on about 5 decades now, the nuclear industry, and this is our federal government because the federal government runs this. It's the tail wagging the dog kind of thing because the corporations are running that part of the federal government. They're writing their own damn rules. They can ignore their own waste and leave it sitting next to neighborhoods for decades and generations without any repercussions. The challenge is when we go back to it, it's always the government that has to take care of these things. It's never the corporations. They never step up. They never stand up. They never admit their guilt because if they did, there would be liabilities and actions in court from the decades of these lies that these non professionals have fed us. You can listen to what are supposedly reasonably trained Navy nuclear engineers with only half a clue about the rest of the world around nuclear waste. The reason America has such a problem with nuclear waste is because of the avarice of corporations and their shifty games within our federal government that allowed the mixing of chemicals, tens of thousands of millions of gallons of improperly stored materials left over at the Hanford site for generations now, still leaching into the soil. You see, the industry doesn't have an answer to these problems. Fukushima is another blatant, stark example of a lack of answers to these problems. So this industry, this nuclear industry, is trying to sell more reactors across the planet with no plan for their trash, which is our trash because we consume the electricity it generates. We consume the isotopes that those plants emit every day and get subtle cancer risks across populations. This is how the nuclear industry is. Do some people care? Yes. I would trust a nuclear operator to do the right thing in almost every case and every adventure in their life. I came feet away from considering a position in one of those plants. So this grows tiring. This is and you know what doesn't help is supernatural things in conversations, speculations based on beliefs. So, keep talking about nuclear because the industry doesn't want us to. You can see the noise is gone out of the media right now, pushing and selling these things because they're in your state legislatures and they don't want any press on that. Organizations like ALEC, capital ALEC, that goes around writing legislation for typically Republican constituents to put into legislatures. In some way, that is called, what would you call it? Racketeering? Fucking criminal racketeering? The amount of money handed to politics inside of this could have been spent on figuring how to clean this stuff up. The St. Louis. Anyone know the name of that? The huge, massive nuclear waste site made by accident sitting outside a major city. It's been polluting groundwater for decades. Still, you see, this industry has very little to solve this. So, let your politicians know your opinion on nukes. A single one-liner. No commercial nuclear, or spend nuclear waste money on public education. Good public education that should have been done decades ago so more people could speak to this and about this. It was the promise of nuclear facilities across the nation. It's written in their goddamn commissioning documents. They owed us this education, this knowledge, this study. Are they studying the effects of radiation from a nuclear plant to downwinders? Where is that study, that massive undertaking that would mean somebody really wants to know how this works? If they were scot-free in this, if that industry was, they would do it. But no, it's not what happens. And our media is helpless to talk to it. Maybe if I had $1 million salary, I wouldn't talk to it. Peace is out.